Okay, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to our IT Workflows Tech Talk on Password Reset. If you're catching this on the recording on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Just a quick call out there. We do have the ServiceNow community YouTube channel, which is a great resource. So if you want to capture that QR code from your smartphone, you will be subscribed to our YouTube channel. So you'll get updates about videos like this. We're going to put out a how-to series around password reset as well. That'll be on the how-to playlist on that channel. So some good valuable information there for you to consume. My name is Patrick. I'm one of the architects here in the IT transformation practice. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the value behind automating password reset within your environment. We're going to go through some deep dive slides around the capabilities. Then I'm going to show you a demo of a couple of the experiences around password reset, as well as what the flows under the covers actually look like to facilitate that work. And then we'll save Q&A for the end. That said, if you wouldn't mind using the Q&A feature rather than the chat feature to ask me questions, it helps me keep track of them. So very much appreciated. So why are we talking about this? So according to Gartner, 20 to 30% of all IT service desk volume are password reset requests. So this is 20% of work that the service desk is doing that can be completely automated. And the math is pretty simple, right? 2.8 calls to the service desk per user per year. A third of the calls are password reset related. And an average service desk call costs about $30 to process. So for 1,000 users, your organization is likely spending $28,000 a year manually resetting passwords. Obviously, those aren't one-size-fits-all estimates, but we know that it is a problem. At ServiceNow, we've been doing an exercise with many of our customers called clustering analytics. You may be familiar with it. And what we do is we use ServiceNow's predictive intelligence to analyze your ticket volumes so we can recommend places where automation would be beneficial in your environment. And the number one thing that comes up during all of these cluster analytics engagements is password reset. So ServiceNow provides a native password reset application. The benefits include being able to automate 20% of those tickets. You're ensuring a consistent user experience. And what that means is your customers already know to go to ServiceNow to request a piece of software, even maybe request a server in your environment. But password reset tends to be somewhat fragmented. Maybe you're using Google's directory or Azure Active Directory. There's a series of different portals and experiences that users typically have to jump through to reset their passwords. So we can put all of those experiences behind our platform because the password reset application is extensible. And we're giving you a better governed, consistent process around resetting passwords in your organization. So the key features, it's self-service as well as service desk assisted. So you can give your employees a completely self-service interface where they can go change and reset their passwords, or they can still call the service desk, but we can provide a consistent, secure way for them to reset their password with the service desk. We support ID verification methods, security questions, SMS text, CAPTCHA, as well as authentication tools like Google Authenticator. We can allow your users to enroll through the same service catalog that they're accustomed to today, or we can automatically enroll them in password reset just by being, part of a group inside of ServiceNow or just part of your ServiceNow environment. And we provide a ton of usage and enrollment reporting. And that's going to make it easier to demonstrate the value of your password reset solution back to your leadership. So let's go into a couple of slides around deep dive information on password reset. So let's start with nomenclature. ServiceNow, we love acronyms. You got ITOM, ITAM, ITSM. So let's go through some nomenclature. First of all, a credential store. Simply a system that houses credentials. The most common credential store that we see typically in an enterprise environment is Microsoft Active Directory and Azure Active Directory. That said, ServiceNow, when it's not integrated with LDAP or SSO, is a credential store in itself. Jira, Jenkins, if they are not integrated with your Active Directory environment, they have their own credential store capabilities. A verification method. This is the way that we verify our user's identity. So we can do that with a series of security questions. Mother's maiden name, for example. I'll show you that in our demo. We also have more advanced types of verifications. The one that I used as a ServiceNow customer was SMS text verification using our Notify and Twilio capabilities. We also support Google Authenticator out of the box as well. And then obviously we do have CAPTCHA verification. We want to make sure that we don't have robots trying to request password resets in your environment. So what is enrollment? Enrollment is registering a user and that user to the specific verification methods inside of password reset. So when they enroll, they're gonna set up their security questions. If you're using SMS verification, they're going to register their cell phone number and they're going to receive a confirmation text and confirm that back to make sure that's set up properly. Automatic enrollment can be done using the personal data verification type. And this just verifies information based off of the user table. After they're automatically enrolled, you can extend their verifications with things like security questions as well as SMS text, etc. And the password reset process, right? This is the combination of a credential store and the verification methods and enrollment to define how users reset their passwords inside of the ServiceNow environment, inside of the password reset application. So it's the holistic process of all of those for resetting a user's password in a specific environment, potentially. So we have two user experiences. This is actually a little bit of a gray area because there's even another user experience that we can provide. We can provide a mobile experience as well. But the two main user experiences are full self-service. Basically, you are brought to a password reset site on the ServiceNow platform where users can reset their passwords. And then we also have Service Desk Assisted, which is a guided process that provides a secure, governed interaction with the IT service desk. So how does password reset work? The process is pretty straightforward. The first thing that they're going to do is enroll, and we all know what enrollment means now, whether that's with their mobile for SMS, email, two-factor, etc. They're going to request a password reset. If the user wants to log in and fails, they can go right to the request a password reset screen, and then they're going to be prompted for their verification methods. As soon as ServiceNow verifies that user is authorized to reset their password, they are going to be brought to a screen that allows them to type and confirm a new password that will be sent to their credential store, and that will become their password going forward. So the service desk assisted is a little bit of a different experience. Same sort of enrollment, right? The user is still going to enroll. They're still going to need to have security questions or some second factor of authentication. But then they're going to call the service desk, and the service desk agent is actually going to do that verification. And then a new password is going to be provided, and the service desk, agent will read that back to the user. The user then can then log in, and they will likely be prompted to reset their password again, because obviously we don't want the service desk agent holding on to that password for security reasons. Let's quickly, before we go into demo, walk through a couple of core concepts behind password reset. First off, the credential store. ServiceNow, Microsoft AD are provided out of the box for you. And when we say Microsoft AD, in our Paris release, we also natively support Microsoft Azure Active Directory. Now, when we say password reset is extensible to reset any password, that means that you can bring your own credential store. For example, I had a customer who they had a specific application, and that application actually used Oracle authentication. So as long as you are able to do something within Oracle, either providing a command line, a REST API, a PowerShell interface into the credential store mechanisms inside of that application, you can pretty much automate any sort of password reset using the framework that we provide to give that consistent user experience. So our verification methods, said this a couple times now, we support SMS, Google Authenticator, email, QA verification, as well as personal data verification as well. And these are basically walking you through all the modules that you'll see. You'll see these verification methods inside the password reset module. Security questions. You may want to employ multiple factors as well. You may want to have an SMS verification, then you may want to have 1, 2, 3 security questions for the users as well, so you can just be 100% sure that you are resetting the actual user's password who's requesting it, the user who works in your organization. So we provide you like a ton of verification questions out of the box. You can also create your own verification questions as well. In the password reset process, we talked about this earlier. This is what combines the credential store, the verification method, and the policies for password reset into a single process that allows for your users to request a password reset for a specific application in your environment. Go through a couple of enrollment reporting security governance features, and then we'll do our demo. So users configure verification required for all password reset processes. So you need to have at least one factor of verification on there. This looks like the enrollment is actually requiring 2. So you're going to see the SMS screen. So they're going to enroll their SMS provider as well as their cell phone number, and they're going to need to get a PIN number sent to them. They're going to put that PIN back into the ServiceNow instance, and then we are verifying that that user owns that mobile device. It looks like this process also requires QA verification. So then the users are going to be brought to the QA verification screen, and they're going to be set up. They're going to get to choose 3 or 4 or however many security questions that is called for within the process. And they're going to fill those out. ServiceNow is going to save them. They will be prompted for them when they go ahead and reset their password. So we have a lot of rich dashboarding around password reset. So basically like how many people are using self-service, how many people are using service desk assisted, are they changing passwords, are they resetting passwords, do we have users who are spamming the system with password resets? Maybe that's not, maybe that's indicative of a problem, right? So we could dig in and we could troubleshoot that issue. And do we have users that are banned from password reset for specific reasons? Something to call out here is password reset out of the box will only allow a password change once per, password reset, password change once per day. So if you want your users to be able to change passwords more frequently, I'm not sure why you would, but there is a system property that allows you to change the time and minutes between password resets and password changes. So screen before, we were looking at how many users were enrolled. This is just calling out the various things that I talked through in the previous slide. So I talked about the locked out users. You'll notice that users are locked out. They can be unlocked again, basically by just either deleting this essentially a log record, which probably isn't best practice, or you can just change that blocked flag from true to false, and that's going to allow those users to reset their password again. So if your administrator password reset and maybe somebody reset their password, they mistyped it twice, they will get locked out of the system if you haven't changed that property. And if you get a call, just note it to take a look in here and check to verify if the user is blocked. And you'll see this is where we define the policies to expire the lockout. You'll see whoever made these slides actually did what I did for a demo environment, and we made that 0, so we didn't run into issues while we demoed this to our customers. And we also, this is going to be an ask from your security team. We have detailed logging. So every password reset, it's attached to a request. It's attached to a requested user. And then there's detailed logs into what action they actually took. 2 more slides here around a couple common asks from our customers, usually the security team. Many organizations are already enforcing a password history within Azure Active Directory or within Active Directory. So we have a way to handle that within Password Reset. I'm not going to talk you through this very busy slide. I will send out a copy of this presentation after the demonstration, so you'll have this slide for reference. This is also called out on docs.servicenow.com. And lastly, ServiceNow, once again, a busy slide. This is all very publicly accessible information. Password Reset is essentially an extension of our Integration Hub functionality. And that said, it has all of the same security baked into the platform and Integration Hub. So the user is, communicating with ServiceNow through TLS. Your mid server is behind your firewall. Your mid server is what typically is communicating with Active Directory or even Azure Active Directory. So none of that's actually even happening on the public internet. It's happening behind your firewall. And your mid server just communicates back with the ServiceNow instance over HTTPS TLS. So it is a highly secure method for resetting your passwords. Nothing's really happening unencrypted over in the public internet. If a user forgets the correct answer to the security questions, are they automatically rerouted to service desk? So it's sort of a yes or no on that one, Wendy. They will be prompted that we are unable to complete the password reset. There is a reset request associated with it. So we don't have an out-of-the-box flow that does this, but you could simply put a flow in place that look for the trigger, the user failed verification, and then automatically create a service desk ticket, either for the service desk to reach out, but likely the user, if the password reset attempt does fail, the user is going to be prompted to contact the service desk anyway. So there's a couple ways to handle that. Yeah, Tom, a mobile device can be used to request the password reset. You can just create a mobile page within the mobile app for doing this, or expose it as a catalog item. So we can see our password reset request counts, our password reset request counts per user, right? And then password enrollment verifications. So here are my inactive users. I have 156 users that aren't enrolled in password reset, and I have 3. So this may, give us our service desk or our password reset administrator a prompt that they need to get more people to enroll in the solution. And then we break out requests. So is it a password reset? Is it a password change, or is it a reset password? And then what processes are customers using? If you had multiple applications in here, some applications that aren't AD connected, we would show those as well. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and do a change password. Actually, you know what? We'll do a reset password for Alexander Hamilton, because that way I don't have to impersonate him, and we'll do his change password next. So the user is asked to provide their username. I do have CAPTCHA disabled here. If you had CAPTCHA on, they would be asked to verify that they are not indeed a robot. So you'll see now I'm prompted for my verification questions. My only verification method for this password reset process is QA verification. So graduated high school, 2005, probably not exactly correct for Alexander Hamilton, but who knows. Password or child's, or excuse me, phone number, 555-555-5555. And what street did you live on in 3rd grade? I'm just going to say street. And if I did that all correctly, we should be prompted to reset the password. So you'll notice that we have security requirements. This can be customized, and you'd want this to match whatever security requirements you have within your Active Directory environment, or if there's any requirements on those credential stores that you've extended the application into. No, I mistyped something. And hopefully it doesn't take a few minutes. Okay, so the password has been reset successfully. And Wendy, going back to your question, it would be this screen if the verification questions were wrong before it even let the users reset their password. A big red X would come up here, and they would be told to contact the service desk. And there would also be indication of that within the logs. Let me go back a couple screens. Show you a couple things here before I do a password change. So you'll now notice that there's a reset request. So that one just came in, PRQ 1032. This is actually the request that got put in when we reset that password. And you can see the logs here, everything that it did, right? We validated the user, we started the password reset master flow, and then we completed the flow and reset the user's password. And we know exactly what process was used. So if we look at the process, so basically this is, when we talked about the password reset process back in that nomenclature, that is the combination of the credential store as well as the verification methods that make up a user resetting the password within your environment. as well as the enrollment activities. So can this be used for password reset or password change? This is where you activate it. Just note, this tripped me up a couple of times. They do not activate by virtue of updating this record. And we don't give you a lot of notification that it isn't active. So just in case you do set this up on your own, make sure this active box is checked. Otherwise, it's going to get very frustrating. You're not going to know why it's not working. Do we apply this to all users? Or we can say, I want to apply this to a subset of users. We provide the identity verification type. And remember, the identity verification type is data that's known within the ServiceNow system users table. You notice I have CAPTCHA turned off here. This is a publicly accessible URL. The reason being that if a user doesn't have, they can't log into ServiceNow with their LDAP password, they're likely not going to be able to reset it. So we do have to make this a publicly accessible URL. That said, if you're doing this for something like an internal application that may not be connected to your Active Directory, that URL does not necessarily need to be publicly accessible as long as they can authenticate to the ServiceNow instance. We can send like enrollment. So as soon as you set up enrollment, it will notify the users to be enrolled. We can also send a reminder as well. So the users that aren't enrolled, they will be sent a notification on a schedule. And here's where I set up the verifications for the password reset process. You'll notice if I edit, I can add other verification methods. Do I send them an email? That's possible, but they may not be able to get their email for a password reset. Google Authenticator, SMS, etc. All right, and the last thing that I want to show you is the credential store. And I'm going to show you my Azure AD credential store. So you'll notice that basically, these are just flows inside of Flow Designer. So here's my password change flow, and here's my password reset flow. And what's happening is the password master is calling these flows to do the various password changes for the various credential types. So then, now you can begin to see why this is easily extensible. You could create a new credential store called My Application 1, and basically just create a basic flow inside of Integration Hub and Flow Designer to reset that password within that application. And if we open up the flow, so you can see the subflow gets inputs and outputs from the password reset request record. Its outputs are going to be if there are any sort of error message or status messages from the various steps. And it's basically some simple if-else logic. So what you could do here, if you wanted to extend this application, is you could literally make a copy of this subflow and call it password reset dash my application. And you would really only need to change out a couple of steps here. This is specific to Azure AD, so I do look up the user ID first. It provides a user ID, a GUID basically, and then I basically reset the user's password in these two steps right here. If the password is changed successfully, then assign the status of success, and we will display that back to the user. If there are any sort of error messages, we capture those, and we will display those back to the user as well. So you can see Integration Hub Flow Designer, it's pretty easy if then else logic, and you can build and extend the application basically in Integration Hub and Flow Designer. That said, some of our spokes do, so we have different actions here, and there are some spokes that for various enterprise applications that allow you to reset passwords as part of them. So some of these out-of-the-box spokes may be a good jumping off point if you have those applications within your environment. Last thing I'll show you is just a user requesting a password change. So rather than Alex going to a public facing page to reset their password, let's pretend they're already in ServiceNow, they're working away, and they maybe get a notification on Slack or Microsoft Teams that their password is going to expire. They can simply just go into the change password reset, provide their old password, and this is how you facilitate a password change. You'll notice that for a password change, we just allow the user to provide their old password as verification. It's also important to note that they are already verified because they're already authenticated to the ServiceNow application. So that concludes the slides and the demo portion of today's presentation. If you have any questions about the content discussed in this webinar, please feel free to reach out to your ServiceNow account team. Thank you so much. Have a great day.